Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Caitlin Burke. All presidential candidates are on the campaign trail in California today, but Donald Trump took a victory lap in North Dakota overnight after locking up the delegates he needed to win the Republican Party nomination. Trump is now taking aim at Bernie Sanders, once again extending an offer to debate the Democratic underdog. But as Ephraim Graham reports, that debate comes with a hefty price tag, financially and politically.
There was a big newsflash that Donald Trump had won the nomination.
North Dakota sealed the deal for Donald Trump, giving him the 1,237 delegates needed to win the Republican nomination. The billionaire businessman is focusing on the general election, where he's expected to face the Democratic frontrunner, Hillary Clinton. And the gloves are off on both sides of the race, with Hillary Clinton also turning her fire on Trump.
That means an unqualified loose cannon is within reach of the most powerful job in the world.
But Clinton is still in a contentious primary battle with Bernie Sanders. She opted out of another debate with the Vermont senator, and that may have now opened the door for the Democratic underdog to debate the Donald. Trump said on Jimmy Kimmel's late night show Wednesday that he would welcome a debate with Sanders, and Sanders quickly accepted the offer on Twitter, following up with Kimmel last night.
You saw what I did for you?
You made it possible for us to have a very interesting debate.
But there's a price tag. Trump says that debate with Bernie Sanders would have to raise at least $10 million for charity to support women's health issues before he would agree to do it. But he did have some good words for the idea.
I think it would get very high ratings. It should be in a big arena somewhere, and we could have a lot of fun with it.
Clinton called the Sanders-Trump debate proposal a joke and said she is looking forward to debating Donald Trump in the general election campaign. But political observers say a debate stage without Clinton could give both men free shots at her decades-long resume in politics and the political establishment both men are running against. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Hillary Clinton could face more political troubles in the weeks ahead. In addition to the new government report saying she broke State Department rules by using a personal email server as Secretary of State, the FBI is also conducting an investigation about the server, and Congress is filing a report on the 2012 Benghazi attack. Today, President Obama visited the Japanese city of Hiroshima, where the U.S. dropped the first of 2 atomic bombs to end World War II. 140,000 people died on August 6, 1945. Mr. Obama is the first sitting U.S. president to visit the city. He didn't offer an apology, but he did say the horror of Hiroshima should spark a moral awakening that could lead to a world without nuclear weapons.
Mere words cannot give voice to such suffering. But we have a shared responsibility to look directly into the eye of history and ask what we must do differently to curb such suffering again. Someday, the voices of the Hibakusha will no longer be with us to bear witness. But the memory of the morning of August 6, 1945, must never fade. That memory allows us to fight complacency.
Some believe the U.S. should apologize for using the atom bomb and ushering in the nuclear age. Others say it was necessary to end the war and save millions of lives. Investigators in the Egypt air crash say they have detected a beacon that could be from the plane. The signal has narrowed their search for the aircraft's black boxes to a 3-mile radius. The black boxes contain flight data and cockpit voice recorders that could reveal what brought the plane down. French and Egyptian investigators have teamed up to find some clue of what happened in the crash, where 66 people were killed. A number of new polls show a global rise in anti-Semitism. To help counter it, ministers from around the world will meet in Israel this week, many of them for the first time. It's part of an event called Jerusalem Encounter, and the goal is to strengthen ties between Christians and the land of Israel. It's sponsored by the Firm Fellowship of Israel-related ministries. Firm President Wayne Hillsden says it's important for everyone to realize that Israel will only become more important in the days ahead. A Christian organization is calling on lawmakers to do more to protect persecuted Christians in Iraq and Syria. Knights of Columbus CEO Carl Anderson told lawmakers that Christians are specifically targeted with war crimes and genocide. He testified that only a small Christian population remains in Iraq and Syria. Anderson also urged Congress to pay for relief efforts, even if it means using emergency appropriations. Another severe weather system is hitting Texas. In the Houston area Thursday, officials say a storm brought more than 5 inches of rain.
It starts at this street right there at Glenlock, and then it just slowly rises up. And last time, I guess the storm was so bad, it hit so fast, it didn't know what to do.
It all happened so fast. So we're getting the furniture right now. Better be safe than sorry. But enough's enough with the rain.
This comes after damaging storms last weekend, including at least one tornado, and meteorologists say there's likely more to come. Americans toss out an estimated 63 million tons of food every year. That's enough to fill the Empire State Building more than 90 times. Now several groups, including members of Congress, are teaming up to figure out ways to cut down on all of the waste. Amber Strong has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington.
Gourmet food fit for a king. That's what a group of chefs served to D.C. residents for free as part of an event titled Feeding the 5,000. But the story here isn't the world-renowned chefs serving up heaping portions of goodness. Instead, it's the source of the food itself. The ingredients for the meals came from wasted food. That's right, wasted food. The chefs and event organizers hope to show residents the beautiful meals that could be made from food otherwise deemed useless. Americans toss out more than $1 billion worth of food a year. That's billions with a B. When most people think of wasted food, they think of steamy piles of garbage or the meal left on the plate after a 2-year-old takes a bite and proudly declares he's all done. But that isn't always the case. Some of the food wasted in the U.S. comes from grocery stores, restaurants, and farmers held back by bureaucratic red tape and industry standards. For example, a farmer may be forced to toss a part of a crop if it doesn't meet industry standards. A grocery store may refuse to display less than perfect veggies. So instead of finding a use for that misshapen carrot, it's tossed in the trash. Sometimes government red tape can keep a restaurant or grocery store from giving away unattractive or leftover food. Confusion over food labels can also lead to waste. Consumers get easily confused by the difference between the guidelines that say Best By or Use By. According to Feedback, a group dedicated to cutting food waste, the food wasted in the U.S., the U.K., and Europe would be enough to feed the 1 billion malnourished people around the world. Numbers like these have some fighting for change. A group of top celebrity chefs brought their culinary skills here to Capitol Hill. They're testifying before a House committee hoping that key legislative changes could make a difference when it comes to American food waste. For example, clarifying those labels that say expiring or best before could save Americans spoonfuls of money.
Consumers actually waste a lot of food. Our bill also looks at donation policy, making it easier for farmers to give away food that would otherwise go to waste, same with retail stores. And one piece we picked up, which we find is sort of the most puzzling part for most people, is this idea of a label that's on the back of a can or a bag. Most of those labels are somewhat arbitrary. They don't really mean that the date you see is a date after which the food would be unsafe. So we're asking the USDA and FDA to come up with some labels.
Some places aren't waiting on congressional change. For example, DC Central Kitchen, a nonprofit organization in Washington, D.C., prides itself on feeding the city's hungry using donated and recycled food. Just another example of an organization's dedication to feed the hungry, despite the red tape. Amber Strong, CBN News in Washington.
Coming up, not all body fat is created equal. We'll tell you why and show you what this great-grandmother does each day to keep the worst kind of fat away. That's coming up. The summer is almost here, and many Americans are working on getting their bodies ready for the beach. So it's an important time to talk about fat, and that it isn't all created equal. That's what scientists discovered in recent years, and as Lori Johnson tells us, the most dangerous place for fat is around your middle.
Did you know we carry two kinds of fat? Surprisingly, the jiggly blubber that you see in bathing suit pictures is the safer kind. It's known as subcutaneous fat. It's right under the skin. The really dangerous fat hides deep inside the midsection, pressing up against vital organs like the heart, liver, and lungs. It's called visceral fat, also known as belly fat.
As you become obese and gain weight, as you get older, you start to gain more visceral fat.
Dr. David Lieb led a study at Eastern Virginia Medical School comparing the two types of fat.
It's the visceral fat that's really associated with inflammation, with increased risk for heart disease, increased risk for diabetes, and other things like high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So you don't have a whole lot of subcutaneous fat either, but in general, subcutaneous fat is probably the less inflammatory, the more healthy of the two depots or two types of fat.
This so-called belly fat can lead to heart attacks, cancer, strokes, and even dementia.
Even though it's difficult to see whether we have too much fat deep in our belly, there is an at-home test to check for it. Just get one of these and measure around your waist.
Women hit the danger zone at more than 35 inches. For men, it's 40 inches. The good news, you have the power to change it.
The bottom line is you got to put the time in.
Jamie Dokowitz knows all about getting rid of belly fat. She recommends a 4-pronged attack, starting with the diet.
You really want to try and stay away from refined and processed foods, things that are found in boxes and packages, certainly sugary foods.
Then turn on the burn.
One of the best ways to try and get rid of that body fat is just to simply get moving. Your aerobic exercise in which you are getting that heart rate up, working into that sweat.
Then lift weights to speed up your metabolism.
The more muscle you have, the more calories you actually burn even at rest.
And make sure to get your Z's to keep those stress hormones at bay.
When those cortisol levels get high, when you're not getting enough sleep, and that also contributes to your belly fat as well.
Betty Brothers follows the program to the letter.
I eat mostly chicken and fish. I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, no desserts. I run 5 times a week, which averages 52 miles a week. And I work out at the gym 3 days a week.
This great-grandmother stays in far better shape than most people her age.
I see it every day, and even some of my classmates, they're so obese, and they have all kinds of health issues. They're on all kinds of medication, and it's just so sad.
She spends practically nothing on health care, limiting doctor visits to regular checkups, and her only pill is a multivitamin.
Just think how much money the insurance companies could save, and the individuals, if they would just try to take care of themselves some more.
If the natural approach isn't enough to get rid of belly fat, some doctors recommend bariatric surgery.
You take the intestine and you alter the anatomy of the intestine in the stomach. So people may not absorb as many calories as they were before, and they tend to lose weight.
So cut that belly fat down to size. It's an investment that could add years to your life.
I just try to eat healthy and take care of myself, because I want to be around to see this great grandchild grown.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
For the latest in health and fitness news, make sure you check out Lori Johnson's Healthy Living blog on cbnnews.com. Up next, we're setting the stage for the Bible and going behind the scenes of Sight and Sound theaters. Largest faith-based theaters in the country. For the last 40 years, the family-friendly productions have delivered massive sets, huge casts, and spectacular special effects. CBN News was invited to a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to make scriptures come alive. Ephraim Graham has the story.
Sight and Sound theaters have often been called Christian Broadway. On its stages, stories of the Bible become modern-day productions. Each year, around 1 million people from around the world visit Sight and Sound locations in Branson, Missouri, and Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a long way from its humble beginnings 4 decades ago.
It's interesting and fascinating that the Lord would pick 2 dairy farmers from Lancaster County to build a theater in the middle of a cornfield in Amish country and produce Bible stories, and people will come. But that's exactly what happened 40 years ago. Glenn and Shirley Eshelman, the founders, had a passion to bring the Bible to life on the stage, and here we are 40 years later.
Huge sets, live animals, and a 300-foot panoramic stage put audiences in the center of the story.
I'm Samson. You never heard of me?
Nope.
The Lancaster location ranks as one of the top 3 theater destinations in the country. And here, the talented cast delivers a jaw-dropping performance of the story of Samson, the original superhero.
There's a scene in this show where the angel of the Lord comes to Samson and he says, he's trying to have him understand this grace theme. And the angel says, Samson, just like your hair, it can get cut, but it's going to grow back. That's how grace is. You can cut grace out of your life, but God's not going to stop pursuing you.
Each show is a little bit unique, has a unique flavor to it, and the story really drives a lot of that. Like Samson's a good example. It's a tough story to tell, pretty gritty story. So we took an opportunity to add some lighthearted moments into this show to help balance that out, keep it very family friendly. So it has a different feel than, say, Moses, which would have been the last new show that we produced.
Sight and Sound invited CBN News behind the scenes for an up-close look at how the show comes together.
But there are so many things packed into these sets.
Over the years, shows have expanded to include the splendor of Easter, joys of Christmas, and Moses. Still, the theater's message has remained the same. Tell Bible stories that honor God for people of all ages.
We love hearing parents say, we saw the show 2 months ago, and my 6-year-old won't stop talking about Samson or won't stop asking these questions. And we went home and we read the Bible story maybe for the first time, and they're intrigued by these characters. That, to me, is the best compliment we get. And our goal is to, every production we do, to be relevant and impactful, no matter if you're 3 years old or 93.
And each ticket comes with a promise.
Sight and Sound's commitment is to take them back in time, to immerse them in a Bible story, and to experience the love of the Lord, through who we are, what we do on the stage and off the stage, and to create an atmosphere where they and their family can have an encounter with Jesus.
When the show is over, there is no curtain call, and the names of the cast members are not listed in the program, keeping with the theater's goal.
We want them to talk about the message or how I might have been impacted, or wow, I've got to read that scripture again. I don't remember that story that way. I need to go check that out, We want to send people back to seeking the Lord and focused on Him. So for us, that was the goal. So it was really, I don't think we ever sat down and made a decision of, you know what, no curtain calls, no names in the program, so to speak. It was more just naturally, why would we do that? We want the focus to be on the message of the show and on the Lord as people are leaving the show, not about us, but about Him.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Keeping the focus where it should be. Stay with us, we'll be right back. The weekend is almost here, and if your plans include heading to the movies, Plugged In Online, focused on the family's entertainment department, is here with a review of the film Alice Through the Looking Glass.
You've been gone too long, Alice. There are matters which might benefit from your attention.
In the movie Alice Through the Looking Glass, it's 1875, and the real-world Alice Kingsley has been off captaining her father's ship in a sea-bound venture to China. But back home in London, she finds that her widowed mother has gotten tied up in some financial woes that threaten to take everything they have. While trying to sort through that trouble, Alice finds herself slipping through a mirror and heading back to the magical alternate reality of Wonderland. And there she finds another quandary that requires the help of a brave young woman like herself. Her friends, the White Queen and the Mad Hatter, are in dire need. In fact, the Hatter has lost his family. It's up to Alice to seek out Time himself.
Time is a he. He is not someone you want as your enemy. Please, sir, the Hatter is in danger.
Steal a time-traveling device, and somehow solve a mystery from years gone by. Things on both sides of the looking glass are appearing to be nearly impossible to work out. But impossible isn't a word that Alice believes in. This Disney sequel is a fantasy-filled, colorful, time-twisting action-adventure that's not as dark as the Tim Burton-directed original, and that's a good thing. It speaks of the value of family, loved ones, and encourages viewers to see every day as a gift. The only slight detractor is some moments of peril that might leave the youngest family viewer shaken. So I'm giving Alice Through the Looking Glass 4.5 Humpty Dumpty crumbling tumbles out of 5 for family friendliness. For a full detailed review, be sure to visit us at PluggedIn.com. Plugging you into the movies, I'm Bob Waliszewski for Focus on the Family's Plugged In Movie Review.
That's it for now on CBN NewsWatch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care about most at cbnnews.com. And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.